The feed is live and quiet. I'm going to turn up the audio, and then I will turn on the screen.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to the meeting. Will you please help me open with the pledge? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you please do the roll call?
Trustee Graham.
Here.
Trustee Jesperger.
Here.
Trustee Sira. Here. Fiscal Officer is here. Township Administrator.
Here.
Chief of Fire.
Here.
Chief of Police.
Here.
Superintendent of Public Works.
Here.
Our next meeting is April 21st, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. At this location, 999 Chambers Road. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda with flexibility. Second.
Trustee Sira.
Yes.
Trustee Graham.
Yes.
Trustee Jesperger.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to adopt approving the engagement of Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister LLP in making related authorizations.
I'll second.
Want the roll call? Any discussion? Okay. Trustee Sira.
Yes.
Trustee Graham.
Yes.
Trustee Jesperger.
Yes. I would like to start a discussion of the resident request system.
So, March 11th, 3/11 was 311 Day nationally, and it made me start thinking about Columbus's 311 line. So, I did just a little bit of research and found out that it's not just Columbus and Akron and Cincinnati and big cities that do this, but Hilliard does it. Small places, Hamilton and Dover do it. And I'm wondering if there is something that we want to think about by way of a 311 kind of system, just as a customer service piece. I'd like to pair it personally with an online form that people, maybe we already have these in some regard, online form that someone could fill out that generates sort of a work order or something, if they notice something that's kind of public works related or code related. But I wanted to see what the general feeling was about exploring further a 311 kind of service where there's one central number, any resident can call when they've got an issue. Whoever's answering that number knows where to solve that problem. So I just liked the convenience of it and the simplicity of it. Where does it feel?
But instead of phone calls, you were thinking an online system?
I think both. I mean, I think all these localities do both things. Like you can get online and file a form, or you can call 311, and especially Columbus, if you want to wait, you can call 311. But yeah, I think both would be really convenient for people.
Who would monitor the calls and the request online? Like, would they automatically go to?
Well, that, I think that's all to be decided. We could, I'm sure on the website, we can just create a form where a resident can select a button, like this is a public works issue, this is a code issue, or whatever, and we can structure that form that it sends the email to the appropriate person. That would be easy enough. And then the call-in piece is just, kind of a decision to make. It seems like a central thing. I had thought about Glenda's position, fielding those calls as just kind of a central office sort of function, but
So how would this be different from the contact us button that we already have on the website, and then also the township phone numbers that you can contact when you go to the contact list?
Well, for one thing, a lot of people know 311, so the township phone numbers, like, don't include it yet. The contact us button, fine, that brings you what, to a form to fill out?
Yeah,
Are
with
there
that a
buttons for the
message
different
and a
departments?
subject. Yeah, they're all on here for public works, code compliance,
Right.
township offices. For a life-threatening emergency, contact 911.
Yeah.
Non-emergency county dispatcher, 614-471-5720.
So it doesn't sound like we're gonna have to do much with that. I didn't realize all the departments were on it. So as a resident, I can choose which department that is gonna get my
Correct. Mhm.
form. Okay, great.
Yeah, we actually get a lot of tips, criminal activity. When we first started, I think we've had it up for 3 or 4 years now. And I would say within the last year, we've gotten more and more. People know about it in the community. I think it's spread by neighbor to neighbor, word of mouth, and we've actually gotten.
I
several
submitted
of
stuff
them.
through that when I was not a trustee. So yeah, I've used it.
Yeah, I wonder if Nick gets a lot of business from it or not, if people, you know, I mean, one advantage of just doing something new is, number one, I don't think this is gonna be a big cost thing. I think it just takes a little labor to figure it out and to see what we can and can't accomplish, but then it gives us something to market in terms of getting the word out to people again, and oh, by the way, we have this form on the website that you can use, and now this centralized phone number.
I think it would be good to add the existing system to the newsletter to make sure people are aware it is there.
So basically, like the idea? Not like the idea?
I think if we just like maybe revamped what we have, and just put it out there more so people know, I think that would be a good idea.
Matt, can I ask you to find one thing out for me, which is, because Columbus already has 311, could we get it even, you know, like, will the phone company even let us have that line? Just because, you know, that could be a thing. Then the other thing we could do is get in touch with Jonathan O'Connor and have him create a new direct dial for us that's like our phone numbers but ends in 311. Just to see what we can find out. I'm not trying to make any decisions or anything, but just to see what's kind of possible, we can talk about it again. Fair enough?
Just to throw this out there, I think, like we have with the 911 system, a landline 911 call from Hunt Township goes to Franklin County. A cell phone 911 call hits towers and goes to the city of Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
So with 311, I think that would still be an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so some stuff to find out about that, actually doing it through the phone company. It might just be, I know Hilliard for sure just uses their regular city extension, and then it's like something 311. So it's just, you know, like their phone numbers, except it's an easy extension to remember, so. I mean, that may be the way we have to go. I don't know enough yet to know. And isn't, you guys probably know this better than me, 211 is also a thing, right? Like you can find services on 211.
Or is it 211?
You don't know this? Yeah, I think
There's one to call before you dig. I can't remember.
I think that's 211.
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
811, right?
No, there's a new.
211 is social services, y'all might wanna
there's
kind
a
of look
new-
it up. I think it got started after that street card initiative in the city.
There's a new 988 for mental health.
Hmm.
Suicide prevention, I think. As well, that just started within the last couple of weeks, I believe.
Cool.
Is that through NetCare? Is that through NetCare? I feel like I've heard that.
I've seen things, I think, on social media. I was thinking it was 988. But I'm not sure that I can admit that.
Thank you.
Moving on to discussion of agenda setting.
Does everybody feel comfortable with the way that the new system has been working? Can we adopt it, or do we need any additional changes?
You're talking about number 7 now?
I think it's been,
Yes.
I think it's been mostly fine. The only small thing I noticed is sometimes if somebody just adds Elena or Matt add an agenda item, you don't really know who the source is, so it's harder to sort of interpret what that, you know, what that might be about, how you want to think about it or prepare for it. So it might just be nice if everybody either added their own or do what I did. I did one for Glenda this time around really early, just so I wouldn't forget it, and I just included everybody on the email, so everybody would know it was my item. But that's the only thing I've noticed about it, otherwise I think it's been pretty good. That and 29 million notifications that I get, which I wish we could figure that out, but.
Yeah, that's kind of an easy fix. You can either do it weekly, you can just get a
Yeah.
weekly email.
Yeah, I wish it just wasn't every period and comma and dot, like when someone's in there editing, you can literally get 30 notifications in a row if you're set that, you know, to just get notifications.
I mean, literally, I went in and moved spaces around to adjust for page 1 and page 2,
Yeah.
and I got 3 notifications.
Well, I had it open on my desk and accidentally like hit a key or something and then had to undo it, and I thought, oh, someone's gonna get a notification. But no, I thought it was, I think it's working out.
Do you think it's working out, Jess?
Mm-hmm.
So we just keep it, we're good?
I know, Chief Fraley, you said something about making sure that the link is sent out at the beginning of the process.
It's just a good reminder, I think, to everybody, but
Okay.
I think the system looks fine.
Well, I can set up, since I already put together that PDF with the new process, I'm happy to go ahead and see if we can get that adopted as a new policy for the township, if everyone's cool with that, now that we've discussed it.
Yeah, I think all you need to do is just, put some motion language on the next agenda.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
All right, moving down to number 8, discuss continued JETSI engagement with Grandview.
Yeah, that's also mine. When I met with Greta and Liz, Greta's the mayor of Grandview, they had great reviews about how wonderful it is to work with Matt and that they would like to get a more official relationship going forward for economic development purposes. So I was just curious what everybody's opinion was about just going ahead and asking Matt to own that relationship on our behalf.
But yeah, it's already formally in place, with the JETSI board. I mean, Liz and Matt are kind of the conduit for sure.
So is
I'm
everybody
good with that.
comfortable with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then I guess I would put down a motion to just make sure that Matt is the continued liaison on our behalf for Grandview and the JETSI for the purposes of learning about economic development and different potential whatever other potential things might, and just kind of come to the board with whatever discussions he does have so that he can be our liaison.
I'll second.
That was a motion?
Very
Yes.
confused by the whole
Yeah, it was a bit of a rambling motion.
Rambling motion.
I'm confused why the motion's necessary.
In the JETSI documentation, there is a section that says that each entity should name a representative actually it's the CETA document rather than the JETSI, I believe. So, just make the motion that Matt Huffman serve as the CETA representative for the township.
That wasn't what I was saying. I don't know much about the CETA. I don't know if I could agree to that personally, but I'm just meaning that just having a more formalized relationship for economic development purposes so that he can meet with Liz on a regular basis. But if it's not necessary, that's fine. It was just something that I had talked to him about.
I feel like, isn't that what's already been happening?
It's more so recently, yes.
Yeah, they've always had, the administrator always talk to somebody over there at Grandview on that. Now, I mean, never was a motion or anything like that, it's just part of the duties.
Just wanted to say, you said you didn't know the difference between the CETA and JEDZ. The JEDZ contract, the whole thing, encumbers both the JEDZ fund and the CETA fund. They both come under JEDZ. They're two separate funds that come under the title JEDZ. So anything you do in conjunction with Grandview Talking House includes both CETA and the JEDZ fund itself.
Okay.
And for folks that don't know, that's an income tax that the township has.
Right.
We all know that well, but people
Yeah.
may not.
And it's based on the income tax that Grandview collects for Clinton Township from all the businesses in Clinton Township, because the township cannot collect income tax. So Grandview does it on our behalf. That's why the JEDZ was established, so we could get money from income tax.
Which is no longer nobody else can get them, because right after ours came in, they went in there and did away with it.
Yeah.
The state legislature and former governor John Casey.
We do have a motion on the table, so how do y'all want to proceed here?
It has not gotten a second.
I did second it. So-
Yes, you did, Jane did. I guess that's where I jumped in, I said I can't.
I think we're leaning now towards it doesn't really need to be, so if the maker of the motion feels like withdrawing the motion.
I can withdraw it. That's fine.
Okay, we're good.
Number 9, discussion of general fund.
Okay, this came up for me, when Deb sent out the real estate, statement that we got recently. And so I just wanted to, put some things out there that I think are important for everyone to have some understanding of. First of all, I think I'm getting to be known kind of as the general fund miser. And, I want to explain that there's really good reason for that. And if you look at this statement, you can see that, you can see why. For example, now keep in mind, this is just, first half, so these are not whole budget numbers that I'm saying, but for example, police revenues were $696,000. Fire, 909,000, basically just rounding. And then when you look at general, $2,900. $2,900. Now, of course, that's not counting what we get from the JEDZ, but it's a stark kind of reminder to just say again that the reason why we don't see general fund levies is because CETA is funding the general fund. We're getting next to nothing from old levy monies coming in, $2,900. Okay, so that's piece number one. One of the things to keep in mind is I was looking at the cash summary funds too, and so when you look at just the total revenue numbers in just the last couple of years, and again, I'm just rounding, we've had revenue of like 2.2 and 2.5 million from the JEDZ, and so that's how much has come in, and then 1.7 and 1.8 million went out. 2.2 or 2.5 in, 1.7, 1.8 out. That's not a huge leftover difference there. This is not an endless pot of gold, okay? It is finite. Now, we do have savings, of course. We have beginning balances, of course. Those could go very quickly if there's a big project we decide to do. You know, when Cleveland Avenue streetscaping comes up as part of what the county's gonna do there, and we decide to jump in there, millions can get spent pretty quickly. I mean, we know that. We didn't even have enough millions in the bank to sort of become a player when the mosque owners wanted to think about selling that property, the shopping center property. no way we could have even played in that ballpark. So even though it sounds like a lot, when you're talking about big economic development projects, it's really not, and it can go kind of quickly. One of the things, another number that I just wanted to sort of highlight, because I do believe we really need to start talking about this soon. On the cash summary by fund, you can look at revenue and then expenditures, and one of the things that I wanted to show you was that revenue for police was 1.3 million in 21, 1.3. Expenditures, 1.5. Now, of course, they started the year with a little something, so that they did not end in the red, and we helped them out further with some CETA money, but that's running pretty close to the line for them. Fire brought in, let's see, 2.5. Public Works, almost $500,000. But when you look at these over time, we've got a bit of an issue cropping up. And a couple of years ago, Deb made us a 5-year projection. And I don't know how you feel about this now, Deb, in terms of how up to date or outdated it may be, but at this time, when you look at the bottom of the list for police, so police need between 500,000 and 600,000 carryover.
About 400.
About 400 carryover? Okay. I thought it was a little bigger than that.
Yeah, this past year, we had a carry for about 540,000. For the first quarter for payroll and expenses, it's usually about 350 to 400,000.
Yeah,
You might be thinking of us, Jim.
Well, it was 420 in 2019, and it was 539 in 2020, and 2021 is right here in front of me. 520.
And we have the new curveball of the funds need to fully fund their HRAs at the beginning of the year, which is
Right.
about 150,000 per each department.
Right. So these are some numbers that are scary, okay? 2021, the projection now, so we don't, don't take this to the bank, so to speak, but the projection was the police would end 2021 with 397, so let's say $400,000. That's without CETA helping. And then in 2022, they're in the red by $10,000. Once again, these are just pure numbers on their own without CETA help. In 2023, they're down almost $500,000. And in 2024, they're down over $1 million. I'm saying this number because anybody who believes that CETA is enough to keep the police department rolling has to think about that. We have to start talking about timing a levy for police. Chief, agree, disagree?
Yeah, we had, for those folks that weren't at the last meeting, we brought in a consulting company to look at policing in general, where we're at, the amount of officers we have and the service we provide. We can't provide radar patrols, and I guess I brought some booklets to hand out for those that weren't here, but we run from call to call. Over 9,000 calls last year. We need to add more officers. And that's going to cost money for what our current budget is. Pricing's gone up. We can't find police officers to fill the spots. If the board said hire 6 more officers today, we don't have anyone to hire. We've got 1 more part-time person, and I'm working on numbers to see if we can make that happen, and promoting somebody to a sergeant's position so we have that supervision on the 3rd shift. But yeah, it's either, CETA helps us out in the short term, but eventually for the police service to continue, we're gonna have to get some revenue.
It's important to remember that his revenue decreases every year, okay? That's what levies do. They tick down. So even on the cash summary by fund in 2020, if you look at police revenue, it's 1,554, so 1.5 million came in. But 2021, it was down to 1.3. those are large hits when expenses just keep going up, as we know, personnel gets more expensive every year and all of that. So I just wanna put it out there, I'm not looking for a motion, I'm not looking for anything tonight, I just want to put it out there that it's time to start talking about this and to start thinking about this, and I live here too, I don't wanna raise my taxes either, believe me, but there's no way with the size of the police budget being what it is right now. What's yours, Brian, like 2.2 something yearly?
Yeah, we're in,
I mean,
even
that's
higher than that last year.
That's how much
because of
CETA
the
brings
expenses.
in, JEDSI brings in a year. We can't just rely on CETA and JEDSI to be bailing out our safety services. We need these levies to happen. Now and again, and the last one for police was only 3 mils, and it was in 2016.
And then if you remember a few years ago, we took $250,000 hit from the
Right?
apartments over here on that fund.
Right.
So that was not a good year for us either.
Well, this is a broad and important conversation, and I'm happy that we want to bring back something like the budget committee, because again, these are broad and important conversations, but as we always said, with continued CETA support, we can make a levy last 10 years. Without it, it's about 5. And I think that still is true. So the police is about 6 years out from their past levy. In 2021, they didn't get CETA support. It did post January 1st this year, that $300,000 infusion.
I don't believe that it can be stretched out 10 years anymore. I think when we said 10 years,
Yeah, there was things that have happened since 2016. When I made those projections at that time period, you know, we picked up a civilian staff person. Now we have HRA. We took a $250,000 hit the 1 year from the apartments over here. You know, there's things that have occurred. Now we downsized the, 2 officers we didn't replace when they retired. But there's other things that financially have come up over those years that weren't predicted back in 2016. If things are status quo and don't change, yes, we can forecast 10 years down the road, but things have had to fluctuate over the last several years to where that 2016 3 mil levy is not going to make it 10 years.
especially if we want to take a hard look at building a department back up, based on what we saw last time.
Molly?
I have a question. What are we spending $1.7 and $1.8 million of CETA for? Is the money for that new building being taken out of CETA?
The general fund.
Yeah, from the general
Paying
fund.
the bond back?
Right, but it's coming, I'm assuming, from CETA money that's in the general fund. How many more years do we have to pay on that?
7.
7 years, okay, because that's what, $200 and some thousand a year?
About $250,000.
But I still can't figure what else we're spending CETA money on, that we're spending that much every year
Just look at
on
the general
CETA.
fund, just look at the general fund, Bobby, when you break down the line items of the general fund, when we're only bringing in $4,900, all of that is CETA. Basically, CETA is the general fund.
The general fund spent $1.2 million last year. The general fund has about $3 million in it right now.
Well, I just, trustees and fiscal officer salary come from local government funds. We're still getting enough money from local government. That's not coming out of CETA.
LGF is about $11,000 to $15,000 a month.
Yeah, so I mean, it's enough to pay you guys and you every year. That's not coming out of the CETA part of the general fund. But a lot of other stuff is, but not everything in the general fund is coming out of CETA. You've got other minor funds in there that are paying us a little bit of money. So I can't figure out how we're spending that much CETA money every year. I know we've got, when we get the building paid off, we'll have more.
Yeah.
Part of the problem with the police and with all of them right now is the minute they pass a levy, stuff the general fund was paying for was thrown to him, and he had to start paying stuff he hadn't anticipated for. I can tell you right now, you're never going to pass another levy in this township as long as we have money that we haven't spent sitting in savings accounts. You won't pass a police levy, you won't pass a fire levy, you won't pass anything. We're taxed to the hilt on this side. I mean, literally, I can't afford.
I heard the same thing about the fire levy, Bobby, and I just don't believe it. I think people want to, I think people want to see police grow. We know that we have complaints about not ever, quote unquote, never seeing police. You know, we know that people want that, and I think that they will invest it, and we can just agree to disagree on that. That's fine.
Well, yeah, they want police and fire. I know that. I'm not saying that we don't want police and fire. All I'm saying is right now, my taxes go much higher. I'm not gonna be able to afford to live here anymore. I'm gonna have to find someplace else to live. Because my income's gonna be going down in another year. And I'm not gonna be able to afford the taxes or anything. I mean, I can't afford to vote for any more levies. I can't. Whether I like them or not, I can't afford right now, and I don't unless I get some more money somewhere. I'm in deep trouble.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand why we're spending that much out of CETA funds for stuff. I
I don't know, you get an awful
understand.
lot of financial reports from Deb. I don't know
Carol?
what the history is.
Did you want to say something?
You know all these line items, Bobby. There they are.
I just wanted to say, I have to agree with Bobby, although I want police and fire services. With the inflation the way it is now, we're paying, you know, and it's gonna go over $4 a gallon for gasoline. Every time I go to the grocery, it's costing me more there. I can't think of a facet of my life that isn't costing me more money. Insurance, you name it, it's going up. And I'm retired, so we're on a fixed income. But I also know a lot of the families in this area are working families with kids. You know, you may like the police and fire services, but when you have to make sure you have enough money to pay for the groceries and the gasoline and the other expenses, and right now there's no telling where this inflation is gonna end. I don't see it ending soon.
I put 10 gallons of gas in my car today, it was $42.
Believe it.
And that was on the east side where the gas isn't as expensive as it is over here.
I will make a 5-year projection in May, as I have done the previous 2 years. And the board will be passing the budget by July. So I hope in May and in June, we can have more robust discussions about this.
We need a budget committee again, because we need to have some input and some knowledge of what's going on. That was the great thing about the budget committees that we had. We were actually meeting with the department heads and stuff, talking about what their budget was, what they were projecting to do, how much money they had, and we discussed it on ourselves, so we knew what was going on. In the last 3 years, we have been blind. You guys know what's going on. We have no idea anymore what's going on. And it's our tax money we're talking about here. We should be able to find out how it's being spent and some idea what's coming up so we know. That's what the budget committee was about.
And Bobby, I 100% agree with you, but like we said, I think a couple meetings ago, my focus right now is to get an understanding of how the budget is run so that
Right.
we can open that back up to the public. I'm hoping towards the end of the year that we can start having public meetings again. I really liked as I participated as well when I was just a resident. So the four times a year that we met, I thought that was really beneficial. And of course, if everybody agrees, I'd like to start that up again sometime next year, if that's okay with you guys.
By the end of this year, that's our goal.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's against that. I don't want to jump in on anybody wanting to speak. And Bobby, you reach out to me frequently. Any resident can reach out to me. So it is true the budget committee is not alive right now, but at any point, I will talk with the resident about the township's money.
So, as I said, I wasn't asking for anybody to sign up for a levy right now, but I do think the rubber is gonna hit the road in terms of what we're able to do out of general and how much we're able to do for how long when we see these kinds of projections. Now, maybe those projections will have shifted when we talk about this again. I'm certainly open to that. But we can't do it forever. We can't do it forever. I see we just cannot. The last thing that I wanted to say was that I went back and found just some carryover numbers for Public Works, because in a little while, again, we're gonna have an agenda item come up, and it's been tacked on to the general fund, okay, for the salt barn. Sure, we've got a line item in the general fund for buildings, and sure, we could spend the money there. But in 2018, Public Works carried over almost $400,000, $378. In 2019, they carried over $411,000. In 2020, they carried over $462,000. And we're not spending it. Now, Mr. Medley's already promised he's gonna give us a plan and a rotation and get all that together this year so that we can start getting some projects next year. But there's plenty of unspent money in this fund. And I question why would we hit the general fund? Because this money can only be spent on that kind of thing, okay? Now, we have to hit the general fund when it's like sidewalks, because those funds, public works funds, cannot be used for sidewalks. But they can absolutely be used for this building. So
I
just
think
wanted to
that
throw
building
those-
fund,
I just wanted to throw those numbers out there for you because that budget is flush.
I don't think that building fund was meant for new buildings. I think it was meant for more things like renovations and stuff like that, which aren't huge expenses like a new building would be. I think that's what that was. I'm not positive, I think
When we
so.
first talked about it, we talked about it as kind of like what happens when we have to buy 2 furnaces, or what happens when there's a roof
Right.
leak, or, yeah.
Well, yeah, that kind of thing, but not building a new building.
Okay.
So I think obviously this discussion is gonna continue in the future. So the one thing that I would like to just share from my own opinion, just for people to keep in mind, is each of our department heads have completely different departments. They play different roles in our township. They have different needs. They have different strengths. They have every single thing different. And I think that that is very important to keep in mind, because I think it's also important that we should not be taking a cookie cutter approach where it's as simple as, if we assist, they're gonna get 300,000, they're gonna get 300,000, because they have different needs, different budget, different costs, different salaries, everything's different. And for myself, it's just important, I think, for people to keep in the front of their mind that you have to just continue to think about the word differences in a situation like this.
And as we're moving on from this subject, I just want to piggyback off of what Jeff Ritter's saying, that traditionally, the income tax has been shared evenly with police and fire. The support that they've gotten in the past, I'm going to say a handful of years. Before that, it gets a little more complicated. When I think we first started, an ambulance was bought with the income tax, and 1 or 2 police people were staffed with the income tax. But that's why the board, we started doing the transfers instead. So I thought that was going to be simple to say, and then I realized it's actually complicated.
No, you're correct, because the board at the time was kind of like, why aren't we just saying, here's your lump, what do you need to do with it, instead of fielding these requests kind of one at a time for this vehicle or that vehicle, so that's absolutely how that started.
Yeah.
You're right. And I'm just throwing it down with you, I'm agreeing with you, because last time I did not think the fire needed as much as police after just taxing and 11 I would say, again. So, yeah.
But before we move on, I also just want to say that I appreciate everything that you guys do. I think that you're absolutely incredible, and your departments are run so well. So thank you so much for being the wonderful leaders that you are.
All right, moving on to fiscal officer. I'd like to make a motion to approve bills.
Second.
Trustee Sierra,
Yes.
Trustee Grimm,
Yes.
and Trustee Justberger.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve payroll.
Second?
Trustee Sierra,
Yes.
Trustee Grimm,
Yes.
Trustee Justberger.
Yes. Make a motion to approve the March 10th special meeting minutes.
Second.
Roll call. Trustee Sierra,
Yes.
Trustee Grimm,
Yes.
and Trustee Justberger.
Yes. Motion to approve the March 17th minutes.
I have
I will second and we can discuss.
Yeah, and we may have to amend, I don't know. So Deb, right after the first resolution, that first sentence, it starts with my name?
Led a presentation?
Yeah, so it should be LED led presentation. And then I would like to add, in the second sentence, when it goes on, Trustee Sarah reminded everyone that Clinton Township was named as a Tree City USA community, and said, I'd like to add a couple residents, because it has not been like a firestorm of a bunch of people, and I think that's important. So
Sorry, what?
inserting, I said, where it says, and said residents, I'd like to insert and said a couple of residents. That's all I have on that.
Before we move on from that, I just want to make one more plug-in for the wonderful presentation that we got to watch with Waypoint Safety Consulting. I really highly recommend that you guys watch that meeting if you can, because they did an amazing job of giving an understanding of how the police force works, what are the things that they need, and getting a better broad understanding of kind of what the issues are and how we could improve what that looks like. So, you know, please pass it along if you can, let people know. I'd love our community to understand what that looks like, just so that, you know, we can have a more broad perspective regarding what that is. So I highly do recommend watching that. I thought it really blew my mind. I had no idea. I felt very enlightened after that presentation, and I think that you guys would too.
Is it posted on the website?
And you too, yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the meeting, if you want to, I brought some of the presentation documents if you want to have a copy.
Yeah, I was at that meeting and the presentation was outstanding. It was really well worth seeing.
Yeah, they brought up a bunch of good issues.
So I believe Trustee Grimm is encouraging me to watch the YouTube, but also when these meetings are posted, these minutes, we hyperlink to a PDF, which I believe is the presentation that those folks put up. So,
And it's actually in the YouTube presentation, and I'll go back in the YouTube and I'll actually find the time of the presentation and I'll put it in there. So you guys don't have to scroll through the whole meeting, like, I'll put the time in there and then it'll hyperlink to the PowerPoint. So there'll be a couple of ways that you can find that.
Thank you for that.
all right, roll call for the March meeting minutes then. Trustee Serum,
Yes.
Trustee Grimm,
Yes.
Trustee Jessberger.
Yes. Motion to approve the January 2022 fiscal report.
Second?
Let me read it, and I'll go ahead and read February one as well. So January 1st, the township had an overall fund balance of $7,830,832.45. Revenue in the month of January was $473,934.51. The overall fund balance on January 31st was $7,882,591.31. Looking at the February fiscal report, we started February 1st with $7,828,591.31. Revenue in the month of February was $343,810.81. I feel like I didn't read expenditures. I did not read expenditures. Expenditures in February was $396,807.86. Sorry to jump around. Expenditures in January was $477,672.53.
So in the January reports that you sent, that bank reconciliation still had the just under $1,500 adjusting factor that hadn't been found yet? Is that?
No, it's fixed. See here, it says other adjusting factors, not zero. We posted corrections.
On the bank reconciliation, it's also gone?
Yes, yes. This is how much the bank statement is up by, but it is reconciled.
Okay, on the bank reconciliation form, is this still listed as an adjusting factor?
No.
And then, so how much did it end up taking for them to do that for us?
I haven't gotten the bill, but I think between $4,000 and $6,000.
Okay. And then in February, is there a 4976 one that we're kind of starting over now?
No? I mean,
On the bank reconciliation on here, on the bank reconciliation,
it's reconciled, there's nothing is off.
what is the adjusting factor?
$49,
What is that?
a Delta dental payment was under by $45, and a payroll was under by $4.50. And those were found and fixed. They're not outlying issues.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had.
Please do roll call.
Okay, trustee Sierra,
Yes.
trustee Grimm,
Yes.
trustee Jesberger.
Is that the January fiscal report?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will not usually be bringing so many fiscal reports to one meeting.
Well, I was just, with all the discussion back and forth, I lost track of where we were.
Motion to approve the February 2022 fiscal report.
Second?
Trustee Sierra,
Yes.
trustee Grimm,
Yep.
trustee Jesberger.
Yes. And motion to approve the December 2021 fiscal report.
Second?
Trustee Sierra,
Yep.
trustee Grimm,
Should I abstain since I wasn't here? I abstain.
okay. Trustee Jesberger.
Yes. Moving on to committee and team reports.
Quick chat report, didn't make the agenda. March 25th produce market, we had 10,000 pounds of produce that was distributed to 120 families, which represented about 385 individuals. Franklin County Public Health was also on site and distributed 21 naloxone kits and 29 fentanyl test strip kits.
Amazing.
Thanks for your ongoing work with that.
It seems to be growing. Our next market is tomorrow from 4 to 6 or until we run out of food. Resources that we're getting from Franklin County Public Health will, for the rest of the year, be at the second meeting or second market of the month.
We should just plug Arbor Day again. Arbor Day and Earth Day are happening at the Cleveland Avenue location on April 30th from 10 to 2. And we have free trees while they last for folks who want them, the little sapling type. We also want to put out there, again, every time we get an opportunity, that you can now apply to have a street tree planted in front of your home if you would like one. And that application is online with more information, but we want to start pushing that out there whenever we can. We're going to do a litter sweep as part of other things happening on Earth Day. Is UVCA doing anything
We have, and
cleanup
I
this
was
year?
gonna suggest that we have a neighborhood cleanup, but I haven't gotten around to that yet, so.
Will you let me know if you have
Yeah.
a date, and so I can make sure that Public Works,
Okay.
everything happens for you, because I'll be happy to do that. That's all I had.
I apologize. Under my section, I should have put forward a motion allowing me to post for the assistants in my fiscal office to hire someone.
I can't second that until I know a lot more about a job description and a pay rate and what this posting is, I need a little more detail than that.
But we've appropriated $42,000 for the position.
I don't spend what we appropriate. We know that.
Recall needing to have an hourly wage amount to post the position.
So you're talking about posting a part-time position, I assume? This is what I'm saying,
Sure.
I don't know anything about
Sure,
what you're
part-time.
proposing.
Yeah.
A part-time position, a salary to be determined?
Yeah, you would still have to approve me hiring someone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just asking to post the position.
Okay, I'm asking for a job description too.
Would you be willing to have everything ready for the next meeting to present all the details?
Yeah, I would have to have a job description to post the position as well, so we'll wait till the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Huffman?
Moving on, my first item is the discussion of the stimulus project. A while back, the Ohio Department of Transportation provided funding for townships for infrastructure projects. I'm just gonna kind of read through the article that'll be in the newsletter coming out, just to kind of clarify exactly what it is, but earlier this year, we learned that we were one of 56 townships to receive funding from a one-time stimulus program developed by the Ohio Department of Transportation. Of the $8 million that was provided for funding, there were several projects, 1,182 eligible applications, asking for over $138 million. So obviously there was a big need for this type of project through Ohio Department of Transportation. Clinton Township did apply for sidewalks on Elmore Avenue, which was approved by the prior board. And we were one of 8 townships to receive the maximum funding of $250,000. So
How much was it?
$250,000
Okay.
is what the township will receive from
Okay,
that program.
gotcha.
Good work on the grant, Matt.
That was the maximum available, and of the 56 that did receive funding, we are one of 8 that received the full $250,000. I did work with the county engineer's office in regards to getting some quotes about what sidewalks will cost on Elmore. Sidewalks are a very expensive infrastructure project. The application originally was for both sides, both the north and south side of Elmore. After the contingency being added, both sides were to be done, it came out to be $795,000. The application allows us to just do one side if that's what the township decides to do. I did work with the county engineer's office to try to determine how much that might be, because it's probably not going to be an exact split between the two. The email I received just, I believe yesterday, said it would be roughly $325,000 just for one side. We do have ARPA funding, which can be utilized for helping to pay for the sidewalks, or at least a portion of it, if the trustees should decide to do that. But at this point, the application was submitted, it was approved, we got $250,000 put towards the sidewalks, which obviously is less than what the actual cost would be. So I guess it'd be up to the board to determine if they would want to put roughly $75,000 of the ARPA funds into doing one side of the sidewalk, to one side of Elmore, or it would probably require the entire ARPA funding plus maybe a little extra if we were to do both sides. Dave and I will be meeting with the engineer's office out there tomorrow at 10 o'clock to walk the project and just really kind of take a look at it. If we were to do one side of the road, I believe our recommendation would be to do the south side, because the north side has a lot of the utility poles for the street lights and has probably more things to kind of work around, where the south side would probably be more of an open project. So I guess I just wanted to let you know that there was $250,000 available, what the actual cost of the project is, and to see if ARPA money is something you would want to consider on the project, or other funding.
How much did you say both sides would be?
With the contingency, $795,000 roughly. I'm rounding up.
Can you remind me of start to finish? Is it like,
The Cleveland Avenue to township borders, which would be around where the church is.
Yeah.
So we're meeting tomorrow, like around the Dresden and Elmore intersection.
The other nice thing about the south side, I personally am leaning towards just doing half. I mean, that's kind of what we do. Wilford, we didn't do it on one, we eventually did do both halves, but I'm certainly not tying my horse to any particular argument there. But
The nice thing about the south side, we'll say, if we have to go with just one side, is that it also puts pedestrians closer to Northern Lights and accessing that whole, sort of problematic intersection that we know we have there, at the back end of the parking lot there. Puts people on the correct side of the road.
So again, with the guesstimate, I did inquire earlier today, I did not receive a response about what, if the 325 that was proposed by the engineer for one site, if that included the contingency or not. If it does, then it looks like we're like $75,000 short, based off the $250,000 grant that will be received.
The grant is outside of Arbor, correct?
Correct. It's through the Ohio Department of Transportation. And the next two items are actually resolutions citing how, if you wanted to move forward, how you would want to move forward. So just kind of a heads up, that's what the next two items are.
And that's these motions that you submitted to us, correct?
Correct. The first one would be just to accept spending ARPA money as a, or anything out here, they changed the ability to spend ARPA money after they initially presented it to the point where townships can spend up to $10 million on pretty much anything they feel is appropriate for the township. So that's what the first resolution would be, to just say we're accepting spending it up to $10 million as the township sees fit, instead of having Deb go through and take a look at calculating losses. The second one, should the township decide to spend ARPA money on this project, would be specific to that project itself.
Do you want to make those as two separate motions, or?
I guess at this point, it's probably kind of more of a discussion as to, I'll open it for discussion, and then depending on how the discussion goes, and
When does this need to be decided by?
the need to respond to the $250,000 acceptance by April 29th.
Okay. So I could request to table this to the next meeting, so I have a chance to read these over.
As far as spending art money on the sidewalks, perhaps, I think the first resolution is sort of a no-brainer that the board should pass that one. I think as far as the decision about spending ARPA money on the Elmore sidewalk project, and if you guys are doing both sides, maybe you have till April 21st, our next meeting.
I'd have to agree. I think that we could easily just take the standard allowance piece off it, and get that one done. It
Now,
doesn't say how we're gonna spend it, it just says we're gonna spend it. Thank you very much.
now let's say if we do have the sidewalks, the board decides to spend the difference between the 250 and 325. Obviously, that leaves ARPA money on the table for other projects. If that's the case, then going forward, we would have additional resolutions like the second one, depending on what the project is. So the first one's kind of like the big umbrella, and then the second one would be for project.
Yeah, I'm comfortable voting on administration option 2, or the first motion, but I personally would just feel more comfortable if I had a chance to read over all of this before I put in an official vote for number 3.
So I guess at this point, my discussion about the stimulus project is over. So I guess we can probably move on to item 2 then, which is the motion to adopt the standard allowance utilizing American Rescue Plan Act.
Second?
Trustee Seer?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
Trustee Grimm?
Yes.
So I'll skip over item number 3, and then we can bring that forward at the next meeting. Item number 4 is the motion to authorize township administrator to enter into an agreement with Stratus Building Solutions for cleaning services for the Cleveland Avenue facilities. Contract amount is $1,560 a month.
So moved.
Second?
I have a question.
Sure.
Cleaning services, is that once a month,
It's
twice a month,
3 times a week.
3 times a week or month?
Week.
Okay, and what do they mean by cleaning? What exactly are they cleaning?
I'm gonna maybe, well, I'll look at Dave and Mike as well, because they actually met with this particular,
Okay.
but it's like the floors, the bathrooms, the locker rooms, dusting, mopping,
Okay.
it's,
They're gonna do things like wipe down the doors on the lockers, wipe down the interior, exterior of the outside doors. Is that included in it too?
Yeah, so they wipe down the office areas, desks, sweep mop floors. We have a prisoner area that they have to clean. We have to keep that sanitary.
Okay,
The state inspectors do come and check us out.
okay,
And then we have the general hallways, the lunchroom area, the bathrooms, and as part of the sheriff's office, we clean that office as well with the contract we have for the substation for them.
okay.
That's the police area.
Yeah,
And then I do believe they do the general community room, I think once or
Lobby.
twice a month.
okay.
And then the lobby, restrooms, lobby area. and then-
trash.
Yeah, they
Yeah, I'm just asking because everybody is so germophobic these days. I just wondered what we were getting for our money. And I used to work for a company that had a cleaning service, and basically they came in and swept and mopped the floors, wiped off a counter, the toilet, and that was it. And we were paying a pretty hefty price for them.
I have their document here if you'd like to review it, but,
Sure.
the other thing was like, the recycling, the trash, vacuuming.
Okay, thank you.
blinds.
That answers the question. Yeah.
How long is this contract? Is it a year?
2 years?
It's 2 years with a third-year option on it. I try to see if we can get something fixed as long as we could. And that's what they came back with, a 2-year, then I think a third-year option. To answer one of the questions about the outside windows, no, they do not do outside. They do
Okay.
the internal of the buildings. They have a list of things that they do every cleaning, a few things they do weekly, and a few things they do monthly, like the blinds inside windows and stuff like that. I believe that's monthly.
That's,
Like I said, it's all in the
thorough.
contract.
That's what I was wondering. And
Yeah,
that
it's-
sounds like a thorough service, so.
Yeah, because we kind of been getting shortchanged right now. So I do have a copy of the contract too, if anybody wants to look at it.
Thanks for doing a lot of legwork, guys, in meetings and stuff over this change.
The one thing with this company, they do have a manager that comes in and checks their employees' work.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that,
Plus the monthly survey.
Yeah, they do an internal
Give,
audit.
Dave and Mike all the credit for this, because they're the two that actually met with the contractor and, were impressed by them, so.
Thanks, guys.
Roll call, please. Trustee Sierra?
Yes?
Trustee Graham?
Yep.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
Using flexibility, we just learned this afternoon about a situation that requires our discussion as well. So, one, I would like to request a motion to accept the resignation of London Hawley effective on April 22nd, 2022.
So moved.
Sadly seconded.
Trustee Sierra?
Yes.
Trustee Graham?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
And we wish her luck in her new future. And then, because of that, I'd like to request a motion to post the position of Community Affairs Public Relations Specialist as soon as possible, utilizing the job description from the last time.
So
And that was at a $22 an hour. Actually, I think it was 22 to 23 maybe.
22 to 24, maybe, something like that.
So I would use that, and if I can send that out tomorrow for the trustees. for
We
their
review it before we officially post it.
Can we consider just adding after that hourly and negotiable,
Sure.
just to give ourselves a little bit of an out there if we need, you know, based on somebody's qualifications. You guys, when we designed the community room, one of the dreams there was that we were gonna have a sort of a community education, we never really figured out what to call it, but sort of a community education program where the township would sponsor. We do a lot with, you know, health kinds of issues, vaccination clinics and this and that, but even more so to get even into, you know, recreational stuff, or people could, you know, offer a particular workshop. You know, we could have a quilting bee in there, I don't care what it is, you know, I'm just saying that we were going to use the community room for community kinds of activities. And I would love to make an addition to this job description, because we never got it off the ground. We started a little bit, and then COVID and buildings and all of that happened. But I would love to make an addition to this job description of that person, sort of at least present a proposal about what that might look like, and be the point person on that kind of program under.
Well, it sounds like we have 2 potential hires then for looking into job requests for our next meeting. And I love that idea, I think that's great. That way we could have more of like a, just more people coming to our building, which would be great. And then obviously something over here as well, because we want to think about this side of the township too.
And also, just to throw it out there, Chief Rayleigh and I will be doing student intern interviews with OSU College of Social Work, who would be more than capable of helping with community stuff as part of their like practicum hours. Because that's what I did when I was a student intern at the county. So I'll go ahead and volunteer them for that.
Well, you know, we have to just run the numbers with the karma and stuff too, just to make sure, you know, this is increase our liability in any way, or anything we need to do as far as they're concerned with, you know, just the different use of the space, but. Okay.
Then last,
We do
gotta have the vote
on posting the job description that's gonna be edited.
Yeah, to create additional pieces to it, to add more responsibilities to the person, correct?
Yeah, was that motion seconded?
I don't think you got it first, just kind of
I
involved.
I moved it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been moved, I'll second.
Trustee Sierra,
Yes.
trustee Graham,
Yes.
trustee Jessberger.
Yes.
just follow up, my monthly report has been submitted to the trustees, just some of the random items throughout the month. A couple different Lincoln Northwest Corridor meetings, so please, some of the residents on the west side have been participating or listening in on that. That's the bus rapid transit. That is moving along. It's a ways before anything specific is actually determined, but there are several meetings that residents can attend as well. We continue to have some issues with the roof at 3820. They actually brought in the manufacturer of the roof itself to take a look at it, and I'm supposed to hear something by tomorrow, and I'll be following up on that. Obviously, last month was Glenda's 1-year anniversary, and it'll be shortened, but also we were looking at different cleaning companies, newsletter articles. There's a proposed rezoning on the east side, an extension of a mobile home park that's actually off Westfall Road, but for some reason the parcel has the Brandon's address, but it has no access to Brandon. I've taken a couple of calls from residents in regards to that, and there's a meeting April 19th with the Northeast Area Zoning Committee, which I plan on attending as well. The CIC follow-up in regards to the parcels on the east side, and then Morpsey had a Northwest Regional Collaboration meeting up in Galena, Ohio, which brought together a bunch of different communities from the Northwest area to kind of just discuss items happening in the Northeast area and what each community is actually working on as well. So obviously, Intel was a big topic. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chief Riley.
I submitted a monthly report a couple days ago. I'll just read through real quick. The division responded to 512 incidents for the month of March. Under training, the division logged 85 hours of training on various EMS and fire topics, including building construction, behavioral emergencies, and pediatric medications. A quarterly EMS run review was conducted with our medical director, Dr. Key. Under fire prevention, the fire safety inspector conducted 27 inspections and updated pre-planned books with current information for building contacts and occupancy uses. Under community risk reduction program, firefighters assisted with the produce markets on the 11th and 25th. 44 boxes of food were delivered through the CSFP program the week of the 14th. We installed 3 free smoke alarms, township residents' homes. And on the 9th, Franklin County Public Health Community Health Action Worker and I visited 3 township residents to check for resource needs. And one thing I didn't add, our new engine was placed in service last month. Had about a week of training on the new pump, and everybody's very happy. The new no idle system is working really well. So once we get our fuel receipts in and start looking at those bills, we should see a good reduction.
Awesome, thank you. Chief Jones.
Yeah, I have a monthly report that I sent to the board. Just a quick discussion. We are renewing an MOU with Franklin County EMA and Homeland Security. This is for the use of our statewide radio system for law enforcement. The county used to operate the radio system, and then it split from the city of Columbus. The county has moved all of their responsibilities to the state mark system. So we will be paying fees for that usage currently as we do, but the county is kind of taking themselves out of the radio business. So now we're operating under state marks, unlike city of Columbus. So that will encompass most of all the townships in Franklin County, Obetz, Groveport, and the village of Minerva Park are all in that radio system now. So it's just an MOU that we agree we're going to continue with that system. Otherwise, we may have to purchase CD radios. I don't know if they make those anymore, but that's just another kind of unfunded mandate that we get hit with on the use of the radio system. So that would be the chair that would sign that. Kind of in relation to that, I was in a meeting yesterday speaking about our radio system. We, in the fleet of cruisers we have 8 of the Motorola radios that were purchased back in 2013. They will be obsolete in about 1.5 to 2 years. So I'm meeting with our Motorola representation tomorrow. I met with the manager from Franklin County's radio room that kind of gave me this information. Because state mark system, they had an intrusion in the system last year in the Springfield area where somebody hacked into it. So now they're doing dual authentication in our radio network. That's the reason we have to bring our radios in. So it seems like every 4 to 5 years Motorola comes out with a new thing, and that's the thing we have to go with. It's exactly like computers. But again, that's a cost that comes along $40,000 to $50,000 range in the police budget. A lot of technical stuff that's happened in law enforcement over the last 10 years is costing us tens of thousands of dollars that back when I started we didn't even have. I looked at a grant today for body cams. That current body cam program we have now expires in 2 years, so I'm trying to think ahead with that program. I think it was the village of Obetz or Groveport that recently ended a contract with a current vendor. They sought to renew that contract. It's tripled in price. Over $100,000. I'm not going to get into specifics, but a required law mandate we must meet now is body cams. And in the next 2 years, we are going to be looking at a big number. So those are some things we're trying to forecast. It's not just personnel that we need, but it's the budget that a lot of this resources takes up.
Mr. Medley?
Just go over a few items that from my report I submitted. First one would be, our department done a survey on the solar lights. And we have, I think 10 of them that we have some issues with. We'll get to checking them here before too long. We're going to rent a lift starting, I'll pick it up tomorrow, so we'll have them to do banners and look at lights starting next week. But with this, I'd like to, with what we have, I'd like to purchase 5 light heads and 6 batteries at the cost of $3,087. The reason I'm bringing it up is because this has to be paid up front. And we have to, I want to just make sure you guys are aware of that and everyone's okay with it. I believe this is how we dealt with it last time because it was overseas. So the money has to be wired before we even place this order. So we'll go through that company. So I just letting you guys know if you have any thoughts on that.
It is how it has worked in the past with this particular vendor.
Okay, being that we was paying up front, I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that and it was okay before I pulled the trigger on it. Then I've been in contact with the County Stormwater Conservation District to finalize a sweep program for the township. It's required by them to be under their permit for stormwater MS4. I can give you guys all a copy of it. It's a loose copy. I ordered some binders but haven't got them in yet. So if you want to look at that, that'll be how we protect our stormwater and stuff at the facilities.
I'm sorry, Dave, there's something up here you gave us?
Yeah,
Yes.
Jane, this one.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Deb, I didn't get you.
I don't, that's why I don't know.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
So if you guys want to look at that, it's already been submitted to them because to meet their requirements. Then they'll have some more going training that we'll have to do at our facility with our employees here, just kind of keep them, get them up to date on protecting our water. And I got some other things I didn't have on the report. On cleanup day, the Soil and Water Conservation District will be attending on the 30th. They'll have a little booth or whatever. I think Glenn's got it in the newsletter. Then the local waste, there is with the contract for the township, there is a one-time cleanup dumpster allowed. So they'll have that, drop that off, I think, the 30-yard container. So that will be at no cost. That's one-time annual. And there is a stormwater conference that they have every May. It's up in Sandusky at Kalahari. You spend 2 days up there with educational classes. It's a good presentation up there. I went to it last year. The cost is about $500 per person for a class in the motel. Guy Royce said he would like to go and attend it too. So if you guys will allow this, or the board will allow it, I'd like to attend that with Guy.
I'm sorry, where is it?
It's in Sandusky. It's at the Kalahari Resort. They have a bunch of conference rooms in there. You'll have vendors there for different things, from say for logging your stormwater, cameras, transit. I say there's probably 80-some vendors there, maybe.
Yeah, that's the same place where we have a TOA every year, the Officers Association that we send them to for training. It's a giant facility when it comes to that with the vendors and stuff. So we've gone there, these side of things.
Dave, I'm personally all about training. I just wanted to mention that it's fairly new in our personnel policy manual. There is something about travel and what's reimbursed, et cetera, for other kinds of costs. So you might just want to take a look at it, because I don't believe we've really used it very much, and I couldn't just off the top of my head tell you what it says and doesn't say, but.
Yeah, I think we would, we'd probably drive on the township vehicles there, so there wouldn't be no reimbursement for travel expenses. Most of the meals, breakfast and lunch is taken care of in that price. It's like $225 per person, and it's $127 a room for 2 nights, times 2. Like I said, I think it'd be very educational.
That's good. I recall in the past, taking a vehicle out of the county has to get a court approval.
Out of an adjacent county.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You can go adjacent to Franklin, right, guys? But once you're past that,
I mean, I can take my personal vehicle if you guys.
No, I'm just saying, a technicality.
it's just a resolution that we need to do.
Okay, all right.
So when is your travel?
It'll be May 11th. That's when we will leave.
Okay.
Get there that evening, get into the motel room, then we'll have classes on the 12th and the 13th.
I can help you with a motion for the next agenda to just get the truck thing.
Okay, all right, sounds great. Then, that's all for the report. No, one more thing. I'd like to see if I get the 13th and the 15th off of April. We take vacation days.
Next week? Wednesday and Friday?
Yes.
We're used to just pretty much getting informed about that. It's not,
Okay,
you know,
I'm still new.
that's why I wanna let you know. It's just, you can just let us know when you're taking your time for the most part, unless
Okay.
there's the sky is falling, you know?
I just hope you're having fun.
Now, the next one, I'd like to request a purchase order in amount not to exceed $65,000 payable to General Concrete and Construction LLC for the foundation and walls of the salt barn, and to utilize the Public Works Superintendent to execute an agreement payable from line item 1000-760-720. I know we're going to have some discussion about that.
I'll second it for purposes of discussion. How are you all feeling about, can we
So where
have
is
it
this
Public
going?
Works?
Where,
Public
like,
Works pay for the
why,
salt barn?
why can't we put the salt barn where it was supposed to go? And I'm still confused exactly like where it's gonna end up. Like I don't really understand what the change was, why, and then like, so where is it gonna go exactly?
Well, there was no change that I'm aware of, really. The new salt barn's gonna hit the blank place between police parking and Public Works building, basically. Between the pole barn and the police parking lot, it's now just blacktop. That's where it's been designed to go for a long time.
Does that take out police parking vehicles then?
No, between there. Police
Is it
parking
gonna-
doesn't get touched.
Is it gonna take out those like 3 or 4 parking spots?
About half of them, I think.
In part of the, that's metal bar.
Yeah, behind the dumpster, about half of them, maybe. So, general fund has already bought the hoop and paid for the engineering, or will, yeah, so we've already got, a little over 20,000.
24, 25.
So I'm just wondering if we can't, use some of the Public Works money when we've got an opportunity to use it on something that it can actually pay for. You're fine with it?
Sure.
What line item are you proposing?
It could be,
I didn't appropriate this expense in his fund.
so do you want to bring an
We'd have to amend.
amendment to the next agenda so that we can create a line item and appropriate it to it? Sure.
This is the contractor that you and I met well now a while back.
I reached out to 3 contractors. One never returned a bid in, and the second one was like 9,000 higher than this price.
Yeah.
I don't think I was listening. What's wrong with the line item?
Right now, it's a general fund line item. So Deb's gonna work some magic with appropriations and creating a Public Works line item. So I'm gonna move to table.
We need a second to do that.
Second.
All right.
Dave, I just, asked you this question before the meeting, but just so we can do it kind of in front of everybody. Are you in agreement with me that the sharp teeth on the speed bumps over here could stand some brightening up?
Yes, they're just painted on. If they're being difficult to see at night, they don't have much reflectivity to them.
Yeah.
They do make a product out there that's thermoplastic. It's got more reflectivity to it. You take a torch and you actually heat it up and it adheres to the asphalt.
That'd be great. I'm sure that'd be really welcome.
Because the other way you do it, you put glass beads with the paint, but it seems to kind of make it gray looking.
Yeah.
Did you say shark teeth?
We did, that's the term.
Those the white triangles that are on the speed bumps?
You haven't seen the video.
It's a really cool video.
Baby
I
shark.
did not know.
Sharp top, just sharp top. Sharp teeth. Welcome to the club. All right.
Do you have anything else? Thank you. Any appreciations or any other announcements? Should
I was just gonna say, tomorrow was a personal day. I haven't put that, not me doing it, but, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to thank Dave for putting the mulch in the triangle. That looks real nice. And I'd also like to say, I am going to, as in past years, provide the annual flowers and plant them at the triangle. I usually fill all the pots and then plant them along the walkway. So I'd like to do that again this year.
It looks amazing every year.
Thank you. Guerrilla gardening is what my husband calls it. And I would just like to ask Dave if you're at the triangle sometime. We had that apple tree cut down, and there are a bunch of suckers coming up all over the place. If there's anything, I don't know if anything can be done about that except just to come back.
Come back and treat them.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to appreciate Dave and Guy for, I took last week off, I had vacation, and they were willing enough to change around their schedule to drive me around the township and show me everything that they do and kind of get a better understanding of that side of things. So thank you so much for being willing to do that, even though it was like, I think like 2.5 hours of your time. So I really appreciate you donating that to me.
I have one more thing. The last rain and wind that we had just this past week, some of the trash barrels on the road had blown out into the street, and I think it was one of the public works guys. It looked like their truck. The guy stopped, got out, put the trash cans back on the lawns. I thought that was such a nice service.
I have some other items. The first one is some very good news. Carol and Kevin just welcomed a brand new grandson on March the 7th.
Yeah.
Congratulations. The others are not so happy. We've lost 3 residents since December. One was a longtime resident on Penny Road, Margot Sark. Jerry's wife of Tom and Jerry passed away in December. And Diane Whalen just passed away last Friday. And Violet is moving to New York. Violet Hitchcock is moving to New York. I'm not sure when, sometime in the next couple months, she's gonna be moving here and living with her niece. So things are changing around here. So I just wanted to let you know, particularly since some of those are longtime residents that we're starting to lose. Diane was she didn't have a good ending. I just am so gonna miss her because she was very active in the Civic Association and used to come to trustee meetings all the time before she got so ill and wasn't able to do it anymore. So.
I heard Violet's moving in July.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I know they were here helping her clean out, but at the time she wasn't sure when she was leaving, but it will be before the end of the summer, either late spring or sometime this summer she's going. Yeah.
I'd like to do another appreciation. Sorry, I know we cruised into other items there, but I'd like to just appreciate Glenda. And we're going to see another product of her work in the face that she's put on this township. It's one of many things that we're going to see shortly, a new newsletter. But thank you for everything that you have done.
Yes,
Mayor,
thank you.
it's been really
I'd like
So
to,
just, if I can, just real quick, the next meeting, first meeting after she's gone, it might not run as smoothly online. It'll probably be me, so I'll.
I nominate
learn
Nick.
from her. So be patient the next few, online meetings, that it might not be quite as
you're talking about Cinco
as
de Mayo.
efficient as it's been.
Just like a quick YouTube how-to for
I wanted to thank James Clough and Local Government Services for their help on fixing my reconciliations. It was fantastic.
And one more quick thank you. I was at work all day today.
All stations, this is your 2000 PHS. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. And then drove over here, and I didn't have time to go home, and when I was checking my security cameras, it looked like my recycle bin was almost in the road, and so I panicked, and I wanted to thank Officer Reeves for driving by my house really quickly to get it out of the road, before there could be any other accidents or anything that happened, and I know it's really my fault. So thank you.
I'm gonna pivot back to remind everybody that the March 17th YouTube video has the Waypoint security consulting video that I really highly hope that you guys see. And if you do like it as much as I did, if you could inform all of your neighbors, maybe post it on Nextdoor, whatever you want to do just to get the word out, because I would appreciate it.
Anything else? All right, so I would like to make a motion to move into executive session pursuant to RC 121.22G8 for the purpose of considering confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, trade secrets, and/or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance. That is to be provided or administered, Chapter 715 of the Revised Code. By unanimous quorum, the board hereby determines that the executive session is necessary to protect the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project. And I'd also like to make a motion to enter an executive session per ORC 121.22G1 to consider the compensation of public employees.
Second?
Trustee Sierra,
Yes.
Trustee Grant,
Yes.
Trustee Desperger.
Yes.
Is there a timely pressing need about
The
I'm
audio
sorry,
book?
I forgot the meeting isn't over yet. Oops.
All right, we are back in session at 8:55. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Thank you.
Thank you.